Now, I wanted to continue telling you a little bit about living on the house on 503 Cole Street. I told you that both Mrs. Kinney and Mr. Fink died in the room right by the bathroom, and that was where the toilet was, and then in the next room, one wall over, was where the tub and the sink were. So that's where, if we had to take a bath, it was upstairs there with all these interesting people. Well, at one point, we were going out of town, and I told you that we had this beautiful chess set from the Emperor of China. And it was in the house along with various other riches, for want of a better term, from the sea captain who traveled all over the world. While we were gone, there was I guess he was a renter who was there, and he apparently stole so many of our things from the house and was trying to take the chess set, but he left it in the middle of the living room, maybe because somebody came or he heard something or he didn't have enough room to take it. So fortunately, at that time, we still had the chess set. We were very fortunate about that. Now, we were about 3 blocks away from Golden Gate Park, and the St. Francis riding stable was, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 blocks away. And on Saturday mornings, my little girlfriend and I, with her mother, would walk through Golden Gate Park to go to the St. Francis riding stable. I lived for my riding lesson at this wonderful stable, right by no, it wasn't by Golden Gate Park. It was by cut that. It was right by the park. So as we'd walk through Golden Gate Park, there was a section where there was all these bushes, and it was really pretty amusing. We were 7, 6 years old, and every Saturday morning when we'd walk by there, this little man would run out of the bushes, and believe it or not, he had the trench coat on, just like you see in the movies, and he'd pull his trench coat open and make noise, and we'd look, and there he was, with no clothes on. Just one of those colorful little characters in San Francisco. So then we get to the riding stable. At that time, the teachers were 2 very, very firm, stern English riding masters who had been trained probably by the British, the British cavalry. They were very firm. And so we had to learn toes up, heels down. We had to trot, and it was always on this indoor arena. It was a wonderful experience. I just cherish those times. Unfortunately, now I think there's a Safeway there. They tore down this wonderful riding establishment. Other things about 503 Cole Street, up the street, the Haight Theater. Around the corner, there were all kinds of shops. Mr. Sweeney had it was a candy shop, just like in the old days. And we'd go in and we'd buy our candy, and they had little toys that we could buy. Little did I know, in the back of Mr. Sweeney's shop, apparently they were running a numbers game, but we didn't know that as children. We only learned about it later on. But again, it was a colorful neighborhood. One time I was walking down the street coming back from kindergarten, which I could walk home alone. For some reason, I walked home alone that day. Generally, I had my brothers and sisters. And this man came up and he put his arms around my shoulder and started walking with me. Now, my mother told me you never, ever talk to strangers. But he started giving me money. He gave me a quarter, and then he gave me a dime, and he kept giving me money. And I knew that I wasn't supposed to take that money, but I was thinking of all the things I could buy at Mr. Sweeney's candy shop. Well, I got to $1.65, and I'm thinking, oh boy, wait till I get home. When this man tapped him on the shoulder and said, okay, buddy, that's it. And it turns out it was a plainclothes policeman. And he had been watching what was going on. And he turned to me and he said, you go home. So I ran home and I went in the house, and our telephone was in the front hall. And without saying anything to anyone, I got on the phone to call my friend Maggie. And I said, Maggie, let's go to Mr. Sweeney's. I've got all this money. Well, my mother, very suspicious, having heard me come in and not come in and say hello, listened to this conversation, came out and caught me red-handed, and took me and dragged me up the street, where she found that they were arresting this fellow. Apparently he was grabbing little children every now and then. So that was sort of an interesting thing, raising up in the city. But what I want to stress is, even though I knew better, he was giving me money and I could buy toys with it. So never think that your children make the right decisions. And I was a good little kid, but you never know, so make the right decision.